y'all, welcome back to Apron Strings. See my pretty apron? Did y'all watch the apron video where I showed all the fabrics that I have available to make some to sell? If you didn't watch it and you're interested in an apron, well, go watch Aprons, 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 and you'll see the fabrics. And I'll be showing some new ones here pretty soon. Anyway, now I got my commercial out of the way. Let me talk to you about what we're going to cook today. I'm going to make a pork chop casserole that is really, really good. And what's good about it, you can either do it in the oven or you could put it in your crock pot. If you put it in the crock pot, I would cook it on low for about 6 hours because it has raw rice in it that you want to be sure the rice cooks and plumps up good. I'm also going to make another video today. I'm just going to video each portion of what I'm cooking for our meal, and y'all will see what it is on the next one that I put up. But we're going to have pork chop casserole. So I'm going to get y'all over here closer to the butcher block where you can see what's going on, and we'll get the casserole made and in the oven. I've told y'all before that I use wax paper to keep from having so much cleanup. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to put that down on my butcher block, and I'm just going to get my chops out. I fried some of these for us for another meal, but I thought I would go ahead and make a casserole with what's left. So let me get my seasoning together and we will season them. I'm just going to season them with some salt and black pepper and a little bit of onion and garlic powder. Maybe I should say a lot of black pepper. I like black pepper. And salt, and I'm just using sea salt. Sometimes it don't come out very good. And we will do some onion and garlic powder. And I'm just sprinkling it on just lightly. And I'm going to kind of pat that where it'll stick good, and I'm going to flip them over and season the other side. And then I'm going to get them in some hot grease. Okay, let me rinse my hands off before I start on that side. Get my fire started under my skillet. I'm just going to put it on medium where it'll start heating. And let me get some garlic. Man, we have to have garlic, don't we? That makes everything good. Garlic and onion powder, and this is granulated garlic and granulated onion. I don't like that powder because it's like baby powder. It's too fine, and it just seems to me like it just gets everywhere, and if you put it in something that you need it to dissolve, it clumps unless you do it ahead of time. So I use the granulated, and I never have an issue with that. Get our black pepper on there, and as soon as the grease gets hot, I'll get these over there in the skillet and get them seared off. I'm going to bring y'all over here and let you just get a little glimpse of what they look like, because I see that you can't see everything in the camera. Okay, see, I've just got them salt and peppered and sprinkled my powders around on them, and I'm fixing to get them over there in the skillet. So here we go. You can see your oil kind of starts to glisten a little bit. That tells you it's getting nice and hot. So I'm going to put my chops in and let the little fellas brown. Just going to do 2 at a time because they're pretty good size. So while that's doing, I'm going to run and get my casserole dish that we're going to cook it in. And we have some more prep that we have to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take these out and put my first layer in the bottom of my casserole here. And I sprayed it with kitchen spray. Now let me get some more pork chops in. And when I use this casserole, this covered casserole, I always spray the lid as well because it's just easier to clean that way. Alright, you gotta let them those brown, but just a minute and we're going to start layering what else goes in it. Well, I was just talking away and I didn't even have my camera on. So I put my next layer of pork chops in, and I put the rest of the rice on top of them. And then I added some more onion and bell pepper, and I put the rest of that can of tomatoes. And this is a can of tomatoes. You see what kind it is? These cost over $2 a can at Walmart. And we've got a new Dollar Tree in town. They were 99 cents. I love a bargain. Okay, I'm ready to make my brown gravy. And the reason that I measured my rice is because I want to be sure that I put enough liquid in here for the rice to cook. So I'm going to make sure I have at least 2 cups of thin brown gravy, and I may even have a little bit extra. So let me get some more oil in my skillet and get going, and I'll bring y'all back and let y'all watch me make my gravy. Okay, I've put about 1/4 of a cup of oil in my skillet. Let me get my flour. And I'm just going to add some flour. I usually do equal amounts, but this time I'm just dumping it in and cooking it. Because I don't want it real thick, but I want it to have a little bit of thickness to it. And it already looks kind of brown because of the pork chops browning in here. And I'll tell y'all, sometimes when I'm guesstimating, I can tell I've got way too much. And I just take some of the roux out before I add the liquid in. I think it needs a little bit more flour. Now I'm going to add some seasoning to this. I want it to have a little bit of salt in it. And some pepper. And garlic and onion, of course. And I'm just going to brown it down, kind of. I don't want a dark roux, but I want a brown gravy. You know, if you wanted to make a milk gravy, you just cook your flour till a light tan color, just enough that the flour's cooked, and then you add your milk or cream and you have a lighter milk gravy. But if you want a brown gravy, you have to make your roux a little bit darker to give it that rich color and that deeper flavor. Now, I have seen people make darker brown gravy and use some half milk and half water, and that makes a good gravy too. But this is just going to be a water gravy to put in there, and I'll cook this in the oven, 350, probably for an hour and a half. I'll check it to make sure, but we've got to have our rice done, make sure our pork's done. Maybe done in an hour, I don't know. The recipe, I think, says an hour and a half. One of my aunts used to make this, and man, I loved it when I'd go to her house, and she had pork chop casserole. Isn't it funny how growing up, you know, you went where people cook something different than what your mama cooked, and you look forward to getting to eat that at their house. Well, that's how it was when I would go over there and she would make this. Okay, I'm just going to add some cold water. When we remodeled this kitchen, one of the first things I asked about getting was a pot filler. And I don't use it every day, but I sure do enjoy that. Very thankful to have it. And I'm going to bring y'all over here closer in a minute and let you see what color this gravy is. When you're making gravy, you want to put cold liquid into your hot roux, or it'll splatter all over you a whole lot worse. I've used warm stuff before, but you have to be careful. I'm going to let that cook a little bit just so it'll all marry up real good in there. I'm going to bring y'all over where you can see what's going on over here in the skillet. See how the color, it's just a light brown? That's what we wanted. When it cooks just a little bit, I'm going to pour it over in here and get this all in the oven. Get it cooking. I love this casserole. This is from Pampered Chef, but I know that there's several different companies that make a covered clay baker like this. And it just steams everything that's in it, and it's so tender. It's a good thing to cook a lot of different things in. I've had this for years. I guess they still have them. I don't know. I'm going to taste my gravy because I want to be sure it's seasoned good, because that's what's going to season the rice. We want it to taste good. You don't have a little wooden spoon like this. These are good little tasters because they don't get hot and burn your mouth. Nah, that needs some salt. I always worry about getting too much. I'll just drip me some back in here to taste again. Let me see. That's better. Okay, it's coming back up to a simmer, so it'll be ready here in a minute. You know how when you're canning, you debubble? Well, you need to make sure that you do that. Let some of your juice get down under the bottom pork chops too. Okay, I'm ready to put the top on it, and I'm going to put it in the oven. Preheated the oven to 350, and so I'm going to put the lid on it and get it in the oven and get it cooking, and I'll bring y'all back when it's done. Got the pork chop casserole out, and it is good. The rice is tender, the meat is very tender, the vegetables are all over the top. It's just wonderful. I've got some plated I'll show you. I just put the pork chop on the plate and then added the vegetables and rice on the top. It's very good and it's a very hearty meal. Okay, y'all, we're fixing to sit down at the table and have some of this casserole. I hope it'll be a new casserole for y'all to try, and let me know if you try it and what you think about it. It's one of my favorites. There's not a lot of ways to do pork chops. You can grill them or bake them or fry them, but this casserole gives you another alternative for cooking your pork chops. You can also do the pork loin the same way. Slice it into thicker slices and brown it and cook it with the same ingredients, and it's yummy. Hope y'all are going to vote if you haven't already. Remember to vote prayerfully. Vote for the candidate that stands for the things that God has ordained in His Word. It's important to the future of our nation. It's important to the future of our children and grandchildren. What happens on November the 3rd is going to have far-reaching effects on humanity in the United States of America. Be prayerful about voting. Pray for our president. Pray for our leaders. Pray for our country. We need divine intervention. We need the Lord to guide and direct us and help us to make right choices. The Lord bless and keep y'all, and I'll be back here in a day or two showing you an apron or a new dish or something. Y'all come on back.